Thank you very much. This is our last meeting for the Budget Committee. A joint session with the selectmen, like we do every year. I do like to thank all the selectmen for all their efforts to work with us. I will not be running for this position again. I've got 35 consecutive years as a member of this board, 25 years of EMA. I think it's time to retire. So I wish everybody the best of luck in their future. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. Thank you.
Now we'll open up the meeting itself. David here will be the one reading the warrant. He's vice chair. Hopefully he'll be chair. Go ahead, Dave.
Okay, good evening. Article 4, to see what sum not to exceed $92,980 the town will vote to appropriate for interest and principal payments to the main bond bank for fiscal year 2025-2026. Principal is $90,000, interest $2,980. Budget Committee recommends $92,980. All in favor? 6.
The selectmen recommend $92,980. All those in favor?
4 and 1 absent.
Yep, 4 with 1 absent.
We're 5 in.
Yeah, I was going to say we're going
Two
to
absent.
correct it.
Article 5, to see what sum not to exceed $52,500 the town will vote to appropriate for the 8th payment of 10 payments for in addition to the Buxton Town Hall Municipal Building pursuant to the vote taken under Article 38, Annual Town Meeting, June 17, 2017, for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $52,500. All in favor? That's 5 with 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $52,500. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 6, to see what sum not to exceed $540,547 the town will vote to be used for officers' salaries and staff salaries for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $540,547. All in favor? 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $540,547. All those in favor? It's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 7, to see what sum not to exceed $11,000 the town will vote to be used for human resource expenses for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $11,000. All in favor? That's 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $11,000. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 8, to see what sum not to exceed $102,700 the town will vote to be used for town hall occupancy expenses, office supplies, postage, telephone, office equipment repairs for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $102,700. All in favor? 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $102,700. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 9, to see what sum not to exceed $1,200,000 $298,940, the town will vote to be used for payment of all town insurance, including motor vehicles, building and contents, equipment, officers' bonds, workers' compensation, and other insurance for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $1,298,940. All in favor? It's 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $1,298,940. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 10, to see what sum not to exceed $404,875 the town will vote to be used for fiscal year 2025-2026 to pay its share of the cost of the Social Security Plan, FICA, entered into pursuant to the vote taken under Article 9, Special Town Meeting of October 17, 1954, and subsequent votes amending said plan. Budget Committee recommends $404,875. All in favor? It's 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $404,875. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 11, to see what sum not to exceed $250,000 the town will vote to be used for legal services for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $250,000. All in favor? That's 5, 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $250,000. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 12, to see what sum not to exceed $15,500 the town will vote to be used for the annual audit and other accounting services for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $15,500. All in favor? 5, 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $15,500. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 13, to see what sum not to exceed $10,000 the town will vote to be used for the preparation of the town report for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $10,000. All in favor? 5, 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $10,000. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 14, to see what sum not to exceed $42,126 the town will vote to be used for assessing services for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $42,126. All in favor? That's 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $42,126. All in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 15, to see what sum not to exceed $13,450 the town will vote to appropriate for town webpage and televised meetings for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $13,450. All in favor? That's 5, 2 absent.
The Selectmen recommend $13,450. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 16, to see what sum not to exceed $5,550 the town will vote to appropriate for the restoration of town records for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $5,550. All in favor? That's 5, 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $5,550. All in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 17, to see what sum not to exceed $32,906 the town will vote to contribute to the retirement fund for full-time employees entered into pursuant to the vote taken under Article 14, Annual Town Meeting of June 16, 1990, for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $32,906. All in favor? That's 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $32,906. All those in favor? 4 with 1 absent.
Article 18.
You can skip 18, Dave.
Skip it?
You can skip it, because it was already read by the chair.
Okay. Article 19, to see what sum not to exceed $353,613 the town will vote to contribute to the main PERS retirement fund for full-time employees entered into pursuant to the vote taken under Article 2, Special Town Meeting of August 19, 2020, for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $353,613. All in favor? That's 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $353,613. All in favor? 4 with 1 absent.
Just real quick, Bill, on the top line there, the 353 is a dot and not a comma in the article.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, Article 20.
Hey, can I interrupt? On Article 19, should we add, like there is on, that other article that stated that there were some changes to the, so if you look at 10, it says, and subsequent votes amended said plan, because if 18 passes, that means there'll be an additional articles changing in 19. Should I add that? So if you look at the,
Probably not this year, but for next year.
Right.
think so? Okay.
Because it's being changed.
Is this the
It's
first
not
change
enough.
that's ever happened to this article?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, Article 20, to see what sum not to exceed $73,181 the town will vote to be used for the technology account for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $73,181. All in favor? 5, 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $73,181. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 21, to see what sum not to exceed $1,000 the town will vote to be used for revitalization expenses for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $1,000. All in favor? That's 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $1,000. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 22, to see what sum not to exceed $45,090 the town will vote to be used for training and workshops, dues and subscriptions, other miscellaneous expenses for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $45,090. All in favor? That's 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $45,090. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 23, to see what sum not to exceed $5,000 the town will vote to appropriate for the municipal building repair and maintenance account for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $5,000. All in favor? 5, 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $5,000. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 24, to see what sum not to exceed $10,016 the town will vote to appropriate for the use of the planning board for fiscal year 2025-2026 2026. Budget Committee recommends $10,016. All in favor? 5, 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $10,016. All those in favor? 4 with 1 absent.
Article 25, to see what sum not to exceed $208,543 the town will vote to be used for code enforcement office salaries, equipment, and supplies for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $208,543. All in favor? 5, 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $208,543. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 26, to see what sum not to exceed $28,070 the town will vote to appropriate for salaries and miscellaneous expenses of voter registration for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $28,070. All in favor? 5, 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $28,070. All those in favor? 4 with 1 absent.
Article 27, to see what sum not to exceed $5,960 the town will vote to appropriate for the use of the Appeals Board for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $5,960. All in favor? 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $5,960. All those in favor? It's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 28, to see what sum not to exceed $1,062,661 the town will vote to appropriate for the Public Works Department for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $1,062,661. All in favor? 5, 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $1,062,661. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 29, shall the town vote to accept Curtis Farm Road, a private road serving a 12-lot subdivision off Long Plains Road, prepared for Chase Custom Homes and recorded in the York County Register of Deeds on January 16, 2003, in Plan Book 278, page 32.
Did you read that the other night?
Yes.
Okay, you did not do that, yet. Go ahead,
Okay.
sorry.
Article 30, to see what sum not to exceed $500,000 the town will vote to appropriate for resurfacing and sealing certain roads in town for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $500,000. All in favor? 5, 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $500,000. Those in favor? 4 with 1 absent.
Article 31, to see what sum not to exceed $20,000 the town will vote to appropriate for crack sealing certain roads in town for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $20,000. All in favor? 5, 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $20,000. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 32, to see what sum not to exceed $31,000 the town will vote to appropriate for the striping of certain town roads for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $31,000. All in favor? 5, 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $31,000. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 33, to see what sum not to exceed $2,137,000 $239. The town will vote to be used for the Buxton Police Department for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $2,137,239. All in favor? That's 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $2,137,239. All those in favor?
Hold on, can I have discussion for 1 second? Bill, when you look at Article 6, it says the 540,000 for officers' salary.
Article 6?
Yeah.
Office.
Office.
Oh, it says officers, that's why I got, it's office. Never mind.
I can see the confusion there, yeah.
I was confused and someone
Never
told me
mind.
that.
All in favor? Go that again?
Selectmen recommend $2,137,239. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 34, to see what sum not to exceed $2,070,460 the town will vote to appropriate to be used for the Buxton Fire and Rescue Department for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $2,070,460. All in favor? It's 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $2,070,460. All those in favor? 4 with 1 absent.
Article 35, to see what sum not to exceed $20,000 the town will vote to appropriate for dry hydrant account for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $20,000. All in favor? 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $20,000. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 36, to see what sum not to exceed $15,500 the town will vote to appropriate to cover the cost of street lighting service furnished to the town for fiscal year 2025-2026 under contract with Central Maine Power Company. Budget Committee recommends $15,500. All in favor? It's 5, 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $15,500. All those in favor? 4 with 1 absent.
So there's no vote on 37. Should we read it? Since I don't think it's been read. I don't know if we have to read it.
Might as well. Just let's put it out on record.
Article 37. Shall the town of Buxton, 1, authorize the selectmen to enter into agreements with EcoMaine for the purpose of operating a solid waste disposal and management program for the town, including the addendum to ECO Maine Interlocal Solid Waste Agreement, Joinder Agreement, and Waste Handling and Recycling Agreement. 2, authorize the town treasurer and the chair of the select committee of the selectmen to issue general obligation securities of the town in the form of a promissory note in an amount not to exceed
$1,215,345.
Can you repeat that again?
It's the number down below, the $1,215,345. I gotta put that in there.
All right. For buy-in amount that represents a capital contribution to EcoMaine and appropriate such amount for this purpose. And 3, delegate to the treasurer and chair of the selectmen the authority and the discretion to fix the date, maturities, denomination, interest rate, place of payment, form and other details of the securities, and of providing for the sale of the securities. Continue.
I don't know, I don't think you have to read the rest of it, do you?
No, I think it's fine.
Okay, we're all set there? Yeah. All right, Article 38, to see what sum not to exceed $1,306,493 the town will vote to be used for transfer station and sanitation services for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $1,306,493. All in favor? That's 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $1,306,493. All in favor?
Discussion. Bill, just out of curiosity, the Article 37 is the $40,000 a year buy-in, is that correct?
So the Article 37 is just a proposal to accept the buy-in of the $40,000 up to a $1.2 billion, but the actual $40,000 is in the transfer station budget.
Okay,
That's why I put the article first, because if the article doesn't pass, then we can cut the $40,000 out of the transfer station.
gotcha, okay. David,
So
All
that's
those
our
in favor? 4 with 1 absent.
what was that, David?
question. So in this $1,306,000, the $40,000 is in there?
Yes.
So, but the 40,000 is in Article 38.
Right, but it's added into Article 30. But wait a minute, this is...
It gets paid by Article 38.
Okay,
Yeah, correct. Sorry.
The 40,000, because the 40,000 is a 30-year contract. So 37 is saying that the town is allowing us to go into a 30-year contract, which is $40,000 a year, which is being paid by Article 38.
okay. Just want to make sure I'm clear. All right, so we're all set there?
Yep.
All right, Article 39, to see what sum not to exceed $8,900 the town will vote to appropriate for monitoring and testing fees for the closed landfill on Town Farm and Churchill Roads for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $8,900. All in favor? It's 5, 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $8,900. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 40, to see what sum not to exceed $20,500 the town will vote to be used for the relief of the indigent during fiscal year 2025-2026. This sum will be supplemented with the state general assistance reimbursements. Budget Committee recommends $20,500. All in favor? That's 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $20,500. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 41, to see what sum not to exceed $4,000 the town will vote to appropriate for recreational purposes for fiscal year 2025-2026 to be dispersed as follows. Budget Committee recommends $4,000. All in favor? 5, 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $4,000. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Now, this next one, we're going to go down the line and read each of the requests, or are we reading just the total?
They're all the same.
No.
No.
So let's have a discussion on that one item, because the only one that's different from the two of us is Estes Park.
Yeah.
And we were kind of in agreement with you, although that number is still there. So I just out of curiosity, the recommendation was $3,550. You guys are approving $2,300 according to this line item. That I know that she was asking for a little bit more. So the $2,300 is just operating expenses? How'd you come up with the $2,300?
I don't think we did.
2,300 is what was approved last year.
I was gonna say, I don't feel right.
I think we voted for the $3,550.
Yeah,
We did the same as you.
Yeah, you sure? I thought you guys cut it.
We cut it, we took the other expense, but went back to the baseline.
Also, I'll also let you know, The American Legion flag came in the other day.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, and I put his $1,250 in there, but he actually never presented it, just FYI. But I did put it in there.
Perfect, thank you.
We did. 2,300.
I thought so.
We did 2,300.
Yeah, 'cause I think we were gonna have her take the rest of the money out of, isn't that the one that's sitting on $11,000?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, that was it.
And then come up with a plan next year, yeah.
So the 2,300 is operating expense, and then she wanted an additional to add to that 11,000.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
We were kicking
So
it
I think,
around.
where are we on, I thought we were kind of on that same page too.
I thought we agreed that we're only gonna, this year, until she gave us more information.
Right.
Okay, so am I
So-
changing the select board to 2,300?
Yeah, you're gonna
Yeah.
change the select board to 2,300, then we're exactly the same, correct?
So does that mean I change the top number two to 54 is 273?
Yep, you'd
Yes.
have to. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
54,
273.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, David, you get that? So the number now is gonna be $54,273.
Okay.
that's what they have anyway.
That one ready to read. Okay, Article 41. To see what sum, nope, Article 42. So, excuse me. To see what sum not to exceed $54,273 the town will vote to appropriate for rivers, parks, cemeteries for fiscal year 2025-2026 to be distributed as follows. You want every line read, or they're all the same?
They're all the same.
They're all the same now.
Budget Committee recommends $54,273. All in favor? That's 5, 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $54,273. All in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 43, to see what sum not to exceed $36,727 the town will vote to appropriate for libraries for fiscal year 2025-2026 to be dispersed as follows. Budget Committee recommends $36,727. All in favor? Yep. 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $36,727. All those in favor? 4 with 1 absent.
Article 44. Shall the town of Buxton vote to appropriate a sum of money for Buxton's share of a regional public access facility? Said amount shall not exceed the amount that the town receives from cable company franchise fees each year. Requested amount is $41,550 for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $41,550. All in favor? 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $41,550. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Can I just have a discussion real quick before we get too much further? To go back to Article number 43, West Buxton Library. Bill, we'll allocate a little bit of money to fix that building?
Have we allocated anybody to fix that building in those articles? No, we have not.
No, is there an article that's gonna allocate money?
Have not.
No, so can we go back to the building maintenance piece of it?
Oh, that $5,000?
Yeah, and remember we talked about increasing that to fix the library?
So let's go back to Article 23.
Now, we don't have the final numbers, but my rough estimate was about 20 grand, so can we add 15 to that? So instead of $5,000, it'd be 15, an extra 15, which is 20, and that money would be used to fix West Buxton Library. We had talked about that, how we're either gonna paint it and insulate it and do all that. Remember, we had that conversation?
I thought you were expanding, painting and trying to go with siding and stuff.
Well, we could do that too, yeah, but, you know, we're gonna do something to the building. I just wanna allocate money, is 15 and 5.
Area library?
West
No,
Buxton.
West Buxton Library, yeah.
Yeah, Is that, have you been talking to Kurt?
Well, the problem is we're not getting any bidding on the siding at all. We do have some painting bids. We've already done the rodent infestation, and we've got bids on the rotted wood. And I believe Kevin Kimball's gonna deal with the tree. So I think it would just be the painting or the siding, and whatnot. I think another 15K would probably cover that, I think.
So would you
Well, it
go,
would cover the painting. I don't think it'll cover the siding. I think siding is gonna be more like $30,000 or $40,000, but we don't know for sure yet.
so what do you guys recommend we do? Do we just put 20 and look at raising it if we get a higher bid? Worst case scenario, we'll put the 20. If it comes in so much higher, we'll wait till next year. We'll just fix it, you know what I mean? What are your thoughts?
I mean, to me, it makes more sense than putting the money in for, if you're gonna do it, do the siding. Otherwise, you're gonna be painting this year.
No, that's why we want it decided, but we just don't have we don't have a bid, so it's hard to allocate a dollar amount there without a bid.
So do you want, so you're saying put in the 15,000 without knowing exactly what, if we're gonna be painting or siding?
Well, no, we really want to side it, we just haven't gotten any bids for siding, and
What number are you
Rick, do you
presenting?
think we can side that building for 20 grand? No? What do you think?
Depends on what you put on there, 40.
40?
Yeah. Because they've got to trim it.
Yeah.
So you want to add 35,000 to Article 23 then? What do you guys think?
I'm good with that.
You're good with that? David?
It's gotta be fixed.
You guys all good with that?
It's got to be fixed. Or if not, it's just gonna rot.
All right, so how do we, because we've already voted on that article, can we reconsider Article number 23? And change that line item to 40,000?
40,000.
And do you want to reference the library in the wording of the article?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. To vote to municipal building repair and maintenance account for fiscal year 25-26, but put municipal building repair,
Or we put municipal building and
library repair.
West Buxton Library repair.
Yeah. Okay.
That's 40K that's going to?
That's
Yeah,
40,000.
40.
Okay. You wanna revote that one?
Yep.
Yeah.
You have to read the whole thing again?
Yeah.
Okay. Back to Article 23. To see what sum not to exceed $40,000 the town will vote to appropriate for the municipal building repair and West Buxton Library repair and maintenance account for fiscal year 2025-2026. Budget Committee recommends $40,000. All in favor? It's 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $40,000. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 45, to see what sum not to exceed $68,243 the town will vote to appropriate for the rental of trash cans for fiscal year 2025-2026. Said money to come from Article 41, account number E17080-742 from the fiscal year 2022-2023 trash can purchase, which allotted $300,000 per year until the funds are all extinguished. Remaining balance at the end of fiscal year 2024-2025 is $123,370. Budget Committee recommends $68,243. All in
Wait a
Uh,
favor?
minute, can I ask a question on this one?
Yes.
So it says, fiscal year 2022, 2023 trash can purchases. We didn't purchase them, we leased them, right?
No, we allocated the money to purchase them. That's why we allocated $300,000.
Okay.
When it came down to, we ended up by renting them instead, and that money had already been allocated, and that's why we're subtracting this. This article is actually subtracting it from that 300,000
Okay.
until it runs out.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Budget Committee recommends $68,243. All in favor? 5, 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $68,243. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 46, to see what sum not to exceed $404,972 the town will vote to appropriate to be used for the Recreation Department salaries, equipment, and supplies for fiscal year 2025-2026. Said money to come from the recreation accounts. Budget Committee recommends $404,972. All in favor? That's 5, 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $404,972. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 47, to see what sum not to exceed $6,500 the town will vote to appropriate for youth services for fiscal year 2025-2026 to be dispersed as follows. Budget Committee recommends $6,500. All in favor? 5, 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $6,500. All those in favor? 4 with 1 absent.
Article 48, to see what sum not to exceed $22,013 the town will vote to appropriate for charitable contributions for fiscal year 2025-2026 to be dispersed as follows. There are 3 requests here that the Budget Committee did not vote for. So the Budget Committee is recommending $18,513, which is $3,500 less. And that was the American Red Cross, Saco River Theater, and Day One.
David?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I get the
I
same.
count 5 that you didn't recommend.
Where do you see that? I know, it's,
Budget Committee recommends 1, 2, 3, 4.
so, I have day 1, yes, you're right. Where do you see that?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, but we don't recommend them either.
Okay.
We got no, should I pull those out? Because we got no request for the ones that say 0. I just left them in because they've been in there for years, but when you get a request, I can remove those if you want.
Probably ought to, it's kind of confusing.
Yeah, it is.
Remove them?
Yeah, it looks like we didn't allocate we didn't,
I'll remove them.
yeah.
And as a general discussion with the Budget Committee, and tell me if I'm incorrect in this, is that we didn't feel that those 3 requests benefited the town as the others do.
Fair enough.
Okay? So the Budget Committee is recommending $18,513. All in favor? That's 5, 2 absent.
The Selectmen are recommending $22,013. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 49, to see what sum not to exceed $13,500 the town will vote to purchase a roll-off container for fiscal year 2025-2026. Said money to come from unassigned surplus. Budget Committee recommends $13,500. All in favor? That's 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $13,500. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Comment before we go to the next article. Should we put in here roll-off container for transfer station?
I was thinking the same thing. I don't know who else we buy a roll-off container for them.
Yeah.
Well, when we get to the town meeting, people are going to understand that.
You can put it in there, I mean,
You want to put it in there?
yeah.
Okay. Article 50, to see what sum not to exceed $73,000 The town will vote to purchase of a patrol vehicle for the Buxton Police Department for fiscal year 2025-2026, said money to come from unassigned surplus. Budget Committee recommends $73,000. All in favor? That's 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend 73,000. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 51, to see what sum not to exceed $59,823, the town will vote to purchase a LP-15 cardiac monitor for the Fire Rescue Department for fiscal year 2025-2026. Said money to come from unassigned surplus. Budget Committee recommends $59,823. All in favor? 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $59,823. All those in favor?
Is this the one that,
Are we buying 2 of those, David?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
In the beginning, you guys voted against it because you thought it was only one.
That's
oh, that was
a different one.
Yeah,
That's a
not
different
bad.
one.
Yeah.
Is there just one, we just buying one cardiac or
Just
two?
one. We bought one
Yeah.
last year, we're
Okay,
buying
all
one
right,
this
yeah.
year.
Buy the yellow one.
That's correct, yeah.
It's only one.
That was the other one.
Yeah, the one that goes down your throat.
Has a,
It's gold plated.
Okay.
Where's that one?
Hopefully you don't know.
Page. Article 56. All right, Article 52, to see what sum not to exceed $11,000, the town will vote to purchase a network service for the police department for fiscal year 2025-2026. Said money to come from unassigned surplus. Budget Committee recommends $11,000. All in favor? 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommends $11,000. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 53, to see what sum not to exceed $60,000, the town will vote to purchase laptops/mounts for the police department for fiscal year 2025-2026. Said money to come from unassigned surplus. Budget Committee recommends $60,000. All in favor? That's 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $60,000. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 54, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $260,000, the town will vote to purchase a new dump/plow truck, said money to come from unassigned surplus. Budget Committee recommends $260,000. All in favor? 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $260,000. All those in favor? 4 with 1 absent.
Article 55, to see what sum not to exceed $65,000, the town will vote to purchase a new truck for the fire department for fiscal year 2025-2026. Said money to come from unassigned surplus. Budget Committee recommends $65,000. All in favor? That's 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $65,000. All those in favor? 4 with 1 absent.
This is the one where the appropriate, or the requested amount is for 2.
Yeah.
So I should change A to 2. You see where it says A just before, I'm gonna change that to 2.
Article 56, to see what sum not to exceed $30,000, the town will vote to purchase 2 C-MAC video laryngoscope for the fire department for fiscal year 2025-2026. Said money to come from unassigned surplus. Budget Committee recommends 0. All in favor? That's 3 yes, 2 no, 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $30,000. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
was the vote on, for the budget committee on that?
3, 2, and 2.
3 votes for no,
No, 3 votes for yes.
3
Yes.
votes for yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
2 votes for no, 2 absent.
So 3 voted in favor of not allocating anything. 2 of you are voting that you'd want to allocate money for it, and 2 are absent. Okay.
As a side note, there's a code going on right now here in town where all this equipment is being used on as we speak right now. So it's not in vain, that's for sure, to buy this stuff.
63 sir.
Okay, you all set?
Yep.
Okay, Article 57.
Point and 47.
To see what sum not to exceed $17,071, the town will vote to purchase an archival program for the town office for fiscal year 2025-2026, said money to come from unassigned surplus. Budget Committee recommends $17,071. All in favor? That's 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $17,071. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 58, to see what sum not to exceed $29,892, the town will vote to purchase an audiovisual upgrade for the large conference room for fiscal year 2025-2026, said money to come from unassigned surplus. Budget Committee recommends $29,892. All in favor? 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $29,892. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 59, to see what sum not to exceed $20,000, the town will vote to purchase guardrails at Dunnell Road/Lower Egypt Road for fiscal year 2025-2026, said money to come from unassigned surplus. Budget Committee recommends $20,000.
So FYI, this was not voted on in prior meetings. This is something the select board's brought to us because they just got the quote in from somebody about the state or something like that. Just FYI.
The 2 guardrails on those roads are falling off.
Weren't these talked about years ago?
Yeah.
Yes, and
We've
we
been
could
trying
never
to-
get
Oh, 5
anybody,
years ago when it back.
We're just getting estimates now.
and they can do it, so
Okay.
instead of taking it out of his budget, we figured we had it.
Budget Committee, all in favor?
Yep.
Yeah.
20,000.
It's 5 and 2.
Selectmen recommend $20,000. All in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 60, to see what sum not to exceed $350,000, the town will vote to purchase land located on Narragansett Trail with the map and lot number of 0010-0081C for fiscal year 2025-2026, said money to come from unassigned surplus. Budget Committee recommends $350,000. All in favor? That's 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend $350,000. All in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Article 61, to see if the town would approve the Board of Selectmen through Fire Department to place an order for a new ambulance, said ambulance taking 3 years to be built and delivered to the town, with the intent of purchasing said ambulance during the 2027-2028 fiscal year for $400,000. Said funds come from unassigned surplus. How do you proceed?
Does that article look okay?
Yep.
You guys think it looks okay?
I think so, yeah.
David, you can-
Are we missing the
Yeah.
request and
Yeah.
the selectmen and the budget committee recommendations?
well, there's no actual dollar value associated with the purchase this year, so if you want, I can put that in, I don't know if it needs to be in there. You want me to put it in there?
I guess if the town, at the town meeting, if it's voted on, then we're held accountable to it in that fiscal year, correct?
That's probably a good point. Okay, all right, go ahead and vote on it, I'll put it in.
Budget Committee recommends 400,000. All in favor? That's 5 and 2 absent.
Selectmen recommend 400,000. All those in favor? That's 4 with 1 absent.
Now, David, you could skip all of these all the way down to,
Chad will read them.
Say, Chad, you want to read these?
I'll pass tonight. Oh, boy.
I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's
want
it.
to read any more of these?
I don't think we've never read those in the past.
Okay. Do we want to talk about Article 80?
Yeah, we can talk about Article 80. So Article 80 is basically taking undesignated or unassigned surplus to pay down the mill rate. So according to this, Bill, you would have the numbers. This number is what we need besides, we're spending more than that because we have unassigned surplus buying all our capital items. You notice that?
Yes.
Yeah.
This number here is what we need in order to operate the town, reoccurring cost. So, the thing is if you put $500,000 into it today, or this coming year, you have to make up that $500,000 the next year, right? Because that number doesn't go away. You follow what I'm saying? So if you take $500 to pay down the mill rate next year, you gotta come up with that 500 plus the increases, right? So we've been discussing that, and some of the things that are happening that I discussed earlier, as far as potential increases to the town for tax purposes, and I don't know what it would be, but is the C&P transformers, or what'd you call it, Sheridan? What they're doing there?
Substation.
Substation over there on the Henry Hill Road, off the Henry Hill Road. I think that's a $50-60 million project. I don't know what it's gonna assess for, but that's not included in our taxes currently, and so that would increase taxes to the town. And so, we're just trying to keep the mill rate as low as we possibly can this coming year, using unassigned surplus in order to help us do that. But next year, we'd have to probably, we don't, because this year we had a lot of large increases in wage negotiations for the union, for the fire and the police. We took a big hit there. We're taking another big hit on curbside trash pickup, right? We were paying 80, what were we paying, 80 cents?
85.
83. Anyways, now we're going to be paying 107 plus an additional $40,000 to be a member of EcoMaine. So those are some big ticket items that we're getting hit by this year that's recurring, right? A lot of the capital items I call them one-hit wonders, where you buy them this year, but you don't have to pay for them again next year, technically. We're buying a cruiser every year, so you could, argue that point. But the point is that what we're trying to do right now is decrease the mill rate by taking unassigned surplus to throw against the mill rate to keep our property taxes lower this year, but we're gonna have to make up for it next year. And so we'd have to almost have a tighter year next year, and we hope that we will, because we won't have the increases in wages like we're having this year. Tax implications coming to town that we don't have currently, which will help. We do have some development that Dearborn is building that might help us with that as well. Go ahead.
So really, here's the key factor of this article is, and Mark's would respond on. What I'd like to put here is a number that in case the Board of Selectmen wants to use the fund balance to offset the mill rate increase, they can. So again, I'd like to put a number in here, up to that number. Doesn't mean we're gonna use it, but if the select board feels that the mill rate or the amount of taxes that we're gonna be charging townspeople this year, they wanna offset some of it with fund balance, this article here would give them the option to be able to do that. I think what Mark and I are recommending is we'd like to maybe put in here $500,000, which would be about 25 cents on the mill rate. So if the mill rate, this year comes in at, say, 70 cents, we could at least decrease it down to like 45 cents, but do remember, when we don't put this 500,000 in next year, you're already looking at a 25-cent increase on the mill rate next year.
So what is the benefit? I mean, if we're gonna have to make up the money that we're gonna take this year, we're gonna have to make up the money next year to cover this. You're saying we're gonna hopefully keep the budget tight, but we all know that every year the fire department and the police department are gonna come in with some hefty items.
Well,
So-
go ahead, sorry, Blake. But here's the problem right now, Michael, is that, 2 years ago, our real estate was being assessed at 110%. And when I talked to Leanne today, who's the tax collector, she was telling me that, with the sales that are going currently on at Buxton, that our rate actually is dropping down to 100%. And so, a value of, I think I had like $1.4 billion, 2 years ago, it was actually down to 1.3 something billion dollars. And that's not, so it's not just the increase in the budget that's causing the mill rate to jump, it's also the decrease in the value of the property that's causing it to increase a little bit. And what Mark is saying is hopefully we'll have some extra new buildings next year, not just the one he was talking about, some other ones being built that will actually help offset the increase in the mill rate.
But if we don't have that available to us, we're gonna have to make some cut. If we do the $500,000, and let's say we have no new bills coming in or no extra income, we're gonna have to take the budget and cut it initially by $500,000.
No, we don't have to cut it, okay, so the way I'm looking at it, or we've been talking, the board is looking at it is this: if we have a 70 cents on the mill rate increase, that's a lot, right? Let's say you had a 70 cent this year, and next year you had a 25-cent increase, right? Together, that's 95 cents. The goal would be to do a 47-cent this year and a 47-cent next year kind of deal, right? So split it up, so that way there we don't take the full impact this year, and because of all the increases. Now, having said that, our unassigned balance is at $6.3 million, right? We have a little bit of room there to use some of that fund balance, right? For the capital items that we have, plus to offset that mill rate, and in the hopes that, because the unassigned fund balance will increase automatically, potentially, because it does every single year, because not all full budgets are spent and some money gets rolled over and, things that happens. But we don't know, right? And the same thing with the mill rate. We don't know what it's going to be until we go to commit our taxes, and then we have a better idea of what that's going to be.
That 6.3 you're talking about, is that before these articles are spent?
That's correct.
Before.
Yeah, that's before.
Because these added up are roughly 1.4 million.
Yeah.
980.
Yeah, so we'd use $1 million of that, which brings us to 5.3, and then 3 to 500, which brings us down to about $4.7 million in unassigned balance. Which
Does
is,
that include, say it's 500,000 that you're gonna put aside this year, you're gonna put 500 next year, is that included also?
no, we don't have to put 500, what do you mean by 500 next year?
Well, if you use the 500 to keep the mill rate down in this current budget that
Yeah.
we're looking at, or working on, you said you can get.
You have to make up the 500 next year, that's
Do
correct.
we have the funds? Is there enough movement in there?
Yes, and so basically, instead of taking the full impact in 1 year, we're trying to spread it out within 2 years, is what we're trying to achieve. By using that 500,000 this year to lower the mill rate by 25 cents or so, potentially, right? And so, there's still $4.7 million in there, which that unassigned fund balance, should, or usually does, increase every single year, and we'll get more tax dollars. And there's things like this, there's a lot of articles in here that we won't get hit with next year, like the $250,000 we have in attorney's fees. Chances are we won't deal with that next year, because that hopefully will be resolved. There's things within this budget that we're getting hit on that next year we won't get attacked so hardly on, and that includes wages for the police and fire, which are not necessarily front-loaded, but the increases this year, and then that's in the baseline moving forward. And so will we have the resources? I mean, my projection is yes, we will, but we don't have to. we can tax the full amount this year, if that's the choice, the will of the people here, you know what I mean? But I'd like to split it within 2 years to soften the blow. That's just my recommendation. You can do what you want.
I think also that if this is the route that we end up going, and we do that, it helps benefit every household, that you have a department head meeting and talk to all the department heads about tightening their belts right now for this, finishing up this current fiscal year and the one we're working on for next year, so you don't get hit with some obscene request in the middle of a fiscal year, or when they put their proposed budgets in 26, 27, that they're not asking for the world.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I do. So, okay, but let's think examples, right? We're buying another plow truck, right? We could get hit again with another blown motor, and we might have to buy another plow truck, but I don't see a plow truck in next year's budget. Right, so when you're looking at next year's budget, it's not about, they better tighten their belts and start cutting. That's not what I'm looking at. I'm just looking at, we're automatically paying for the income increases this year, right? That comes into the baseline, so we won't get hit as hard next year because it's already in the baseline. You follow what I'm saying? We don't have a plow truck next year. The increase in the 40,000 for Eco Maine and the increase in tipping fees, right, will still get hit next year a little bit, $10, but this year we're getting hit $30, right? So that increase next year is in the baseline, right? So the baseline is set. We're just looking above and beyond next year. And so when you're looking at the baseline, now we're trying to buy the mill rate down. So next year that baseline, right, we'll have to make up for it, but it won't be as great of an increase because we have so many things coming in this year that are escalating our cost to operate our town. That will be a baseline. And so that's in the baseline every single year moving forward. And so it just softens the blow. So instead of 70 cents this year and 25 cents next year, let's say, would be, 47. That way there, you take a little bit this year and you take the rest of it next year. It's a thought. You don't have to, but
Are
that's.
you, so is 500,000 the number?
Or is it the 8?
Or is it the 889,000?
Well, we really didn't discuss that a whole lot to find out exactly what that number is. I think 500,000 is about 25 cents, and I think that's a realistic discount with the anticipation you have to make up for it next year. I wouldn't want to go $1 million, because then next year you'd have to make up $1 million. That's a lot. We can make up 500,000.
So can you take Article 80 and change the number from 889,167 to 500,000?
Yeah.
Yes.
The 889 was just the number from last year. I just didn't change the number because I wanted to discuss it with everybody. But I think $5,000, like Mark said, would be a good number. And again,
500,000?
they may not use 500,000.
Right.
It's just up to 500,000.
Yeah, because we won't know that until we commit taxes. We don't know what the increase will be on our mill rate until we commit taxes with everything that comes in at the end. And then we'll have a number and say, okay, this is what it's going to be. And then, so at the end of the day, what's a real, I talked to David, what's a realistic, increase on property taxes per year? We've always seemed to grow about 50 cents a year. That's kind of typical, right? And if you look at, our mill rate compared to all the local municipalities, right, our mill rate is lower than just about everybody else. And so, and the thing is that, we might be growing this year by quite a bit, but so is everybody else, right? Nobody, we're not the only ones growing. Everybody else is staying still. Everybody's got huge increases like we are because it's just the cost of doing business. You just, it's, and a lot of this, like health insurance, what do you call it? Workman's comp insurance, you know what I mean? We got hit a few years ago. Now that we're paying the dues for that, there's expenses that we just cannot avoid, right? You're there. You got to pay for these expenses in order to run the town. And every community is being probably affected with the same thing. So I look at it when I'm looking at numbers. Where is our mill rate compared to other local municipalities, right? Are we moving faster, slower? Are we, under them? I think that. And, there's things that are, this board has been focusing on paying off our debt, right? We've got 2 more years worth of debt. The Public Works building and the police addition here. In 2 years, those payments are gone. It's another $140,000 into our operating budget, and the town will be completely debt-free. in 2 years. So I think that in itself is a pretty good accomplishment. Now, all the tax dollars we collect don't go to interest, goes to operate the town, which I think is a good thing personally, but. So it's up to you guys. We don't have to buy, you know what I mean? But I think it would be a benefit to the community to you know, give them a softer blow because of the impact that we're in. That's what I recommend. You guys can do what you'd like.
Oh, I would recommend we go with the 500,000 max.
Do you feel that the lawyer fees are gonna be taken care of within next year or the year after?
Look, there's always that potential where they appeal it or they bring us to court and, you know what I mean? I'm not saying it's over.
But there,
But I think that we're on a good track,
Okay.
right? I mean, we've gotten the right legal advice, we've gotten the right firms to help us. You know, there's been some
because you
hiccups
lost the
in that.
taxes on that too, right?
We spent a lot of money on that, yeah. And now I think you know what I mean, we've had to readjust along the way. I think that, you know, we'll see, we don't know, right? I mean,
So it's not settled yet.
it's not settled, but I think that, you know, we got the right people, yeah, well.
Close.
We got the right people, and so
Good.
I think that, you know.
That's a good feeling. At least
Yeah.
they'll be behind you too.
Right. And so, yeah, you know, doing the best that we can, but nobody knows, you know what I mean? Until it's signing you're signing on the dotted line, anything can happen.
Okay. So we'll read Article 80.
You don't need to.
Don't need to? Don't need to.
I just wanted to get a feeling of where everybody was with it. That's why I said that.
You wanna fit in a number?
I'm gonna put 500K. 80 is the 500K, right? We were talking
Yep.
about? Yeah, I'm gonna put 500K. I think everybody's about agreement on the 500K.
You?
Again, I'm not sure we're gonna use it. We'll see what happens.
Go to that 500K?
Yep. We're good with it.
Other than that, I think everything else is good.
My comment a few minutes ago about tightening their belts, I'm not saying to have the departments cut in their budgets. Just have a discussion with them to kind of hold the line, okay? And don't spend it just because it's there and I can spend it, okay? Because some people think that way. You know, if you're getting close to the end of a fiscal year, you know, 2-3 months out, and it's not necessary to spend a certain item or amount of money, you know, I'm not a freebie, but, you know, it's a wish list, and on the wish list, everything is not, you know, to be purchased. That helps too.
So I'm gonna just tell you, David, that is, wishful thinking, I think, you know what I mean? I understand your point, and to be honest with you, if we could manage that, we probably would, but it's very difficult because at the end of the day, departments are allocated a certain amount of money to run their department, and they use those resources to run their department. And if there's going to be excess, it's hard for us to tell what is excess and what is a wish list and what is a need. And so I wish I could tell you, yep, you know what, we're going to be able to do that. I don't see that being a reality unless we change the way we do our budgets, right? We'd have to, if you wanted to do that, we'd have to change articles to be written a specific way that, you know what I mean? And then it becomes a lot more problematic because then reconciliation, it becomes a real problem. So at the end of the day, we trust our department heads to use the allocated money within their department. And the town approves to use that money, and if they use it all, they're entitled to do so. And I understand your point, and I don't disagree with you. That's just a difficult task. I just want to be, you know, fair with you and say that's
There are
reality.
some departments that spend a lot of their money up front as soon as they get it.
It's gone.
Let's go.
1/12 each month.
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah. So I just wanted to actually take this opportunity to thank Sheridan for the years of service. I heard you said 35 years, and then someone told me it was 45 years. So are you sure you got your numbers right? You started in 1980, I heard.
A long time.
Huh?
The best of my knowledge is 35.
35 years? All right. And so, well, we appreciate you. We thank you for being undefeated for 35 years. And just thank you. Thank you for serving the town of Buxton for all these years. We appreciate that. Thank you so much for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheridan.
I will say that this board here is probably the most enjoyable board that I've had to supervise.
Don't say that just because we watch a pizza.
But we've always, all of us, have put our heads together on numbers and kind of talk things over amongst ourselves and come up with a number, which I've had other boards that I couldn't do that with. Even with the select board, you folks have really pitched in and helped explain where the money was going. And I really think the general public has enjoyed more of that, not knowing that where that tax dollar is being spent. I think we've been more open. Just like the discussion we've had just now over, I mean, we could have done that off TV and nobody'd ever known what we were talking about in come town meeting.
Yep.
I feel the discussion that we've had amongst ourselves and with the board has paid off.
It works.
What was that?
It works
It works?
with what you guys do and what we
Yeah.
try.
I mean, if you look at the total budget, I mean, the only thing we're really off on is that,
It's just
the
small
throat thing, you know what I mean? But you guys are not unified on that either, so. But at the end of the day, if you, the whole budget, I mean, we're, you know what I mean? I'm happy to see that overall we're agreeing the way the town is moving, right? It would be difficult if we had every line item different, but for the
There was
most
a
part.
time, if you remember.
Yeah,
Was
so,
it though?
you know, and look, we realize that there's, people on fixed incomes in our community, you know, and, you know, nobody wants to see property taxes go up. But, you know, we're just forced with the inflationary period where we're at, right? If you guys want a service, if you want to call and you have an ambulance there, we gotta pay people to ride the ambulances and police officers and all that, so, you know, it's a tough balancing act, and so hopefully, you know, hopefully I see some changes here. I'm hoping that things will flatten out a little bit, you know what I mean, as far as increase in inflation. That's my hope anyways, but the last few years has just been crazy.
I think what's helped is, you know, every single week that we see each other, we talk, we communicate, and it shows in how the numbers are and how everybody's voting. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
But
thank you.
I think if you look back at my first year on this board, compared to what it is now between the two boards, it's totally like a 360. I mean, I can remember, you know, we couldn't agree on if it was Monday or Tuesday. But I think since then, we really have come together and even shown to the residents of Buxton that the two boards can work together. And I think we've done a great job of that. And I think that's a total benefit for the residents of Buxton, so.
Bill,
Bill's been a great asset.
unbelievable.
Yeah, great asset, and he's,
Or be with money, baby.
yeah, no doubt about it. He's been, we've.
Been an
we've-
asset,
Yep.
even to us, and
Yep.
some of the stuff that,
Yep,
because we don't get the information. How do we vote on it?
right,
He's been great, yeah.
yep, no doubt.
I probably shouldn't say this, but I can remember the first couple of years on the budget committee from the old town hall. It was more or less a social gathering. I can remember sitting there and saying, how come these guys are jabbering away and they're not paying no attention to what's being spent or what the article is? I thought of that today, how this board has advanced and how the selectmen have advanced working with the board. At one time, it wouldn't make any difference. If we said $500, they'd say $8. So, it has come a long ways, believe me. Long, long ways.
Anything else?
Anything else you'd like to discuss?
I think it's great that we're just 2 years away from being debt-free.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's,
And we have money in the bank. Yeah.
Okay, we'll call this
Both
meeting.
boards. It isn't just because of one, you know, it's because of both boards working together. It has allowed us to do this.
This will conclude the Budget Committee meeting for tonight. My last broadcast.
Over and out.
Over and out.